What is going on, everybody? Bob29 back in the lounge yet again, and today we're going to be continuing our Volume 9 roundtable. It is going to be part 2 of the podcast. We're going to be talking today about the brand new Hall of Fame MLC. Lots to go over there, including this weekend stuff. A little bit of cleanup from the community event that we had from last year to this year. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a second here. But as always, make sure to kick back, relax, grab those snacks because I'm sure we're in for a lot this time around. Once again, we're going to just go ahead and introduce everyone so you can get familiar to their voice and their name. And we have a couple of people that decided to pull up a chair and join the table for part 2 as well. So, shocker and a little surprise there. But first and foremost, we've got the representation of the riffraff himself here, Mr. B-Rock Gaming. B-Rock, say hello one more time for the fine folks out there.
What's happening, everybody?
Also got with me, like I mentioned before, part man, myth, and legend, also part ceiling and floor. It is Mr. Evolution X.
Hello, Lounge Lizards. Evo X. Forgot to mention before, but it is a year now, officially, that Brutus isn't fixed. And he got a new upgrade in turn.
Yeah, and we will be talking about that new upgrade in this part of the podcast as well. We also have one half of the Champions Chat podcast. Don't tell Lee, but I think we got the better half today. And a huge shout out to the one and only individual who got to actually bring me onto the official Champions stream for my first ever official power ranking. So huge shout out to him, one Mr. Rusty Graves. How is it going, Rusty?
Hey, Bob. Glad to be here with all the other voyeurs in the chat. And call back to the last episode. But I just can't stay away from the lounge. I love it here.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, that's about as Southside Envy of an intro that isn't Southside Envy I think we've ever had. Also, part man, part enforcer, part pizza, maybe? And definitely part poker dealer himself. One of the original reasons that I was so eager and happy to bring back this podcast. It is the one and only Mr. Sensei Kreese. Sensei, talk to me, brother.
Hello, everyone. Just a little correction. You can call me Poker Supervisor now. Thank you.
Ah. Okay, Mr. Supervisor of the dealers. So, a.k.a. the pit boss.
Yeah, something like that. Like when there's a rule, I got to come over and pretend like I know what I'm doing.
How does it feel being called pit boss? Does it make you feel like you got a little sense of power or what?
Of course, and I will use it any chance I get.
Oh, God, I love it. Also, showing back up again for her third part of the Roundtable podcast. Always happy to have new faces on. The one and only lovely Mrs. Kitsu Shell. Shell, how is it going?
Going good. How you doing, guys?
Doing good. Hopefully a little bit less cat distractions in part 2 here.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Not kidding.
And the often imitated, never duplicated, last but certainly not least, and I don't know how well anyone's imitations ever work of him. He is a man amongst men, the other half of why I've wanted to bring back this podcast so bad. The one and only Mr. Southside Envy.
Southside Envy from You're on the List. Don't have anything catchphrasy to say, so I'll just say the gender plate still works. Confirmed.
For those of you that are wondering what Envy is talking about, he is talking about the plate that is called the Tiffy Time plate. Envy has decided to put the Tiffy Time plate on his Jinder Mahal. For those of you that think it's a bit, it is not a bit. Envy has been trying to make his Jinder Mahal work for I don't even know how many years at this point. But he's dedicated. He's as dedicated as they come. So yeah, that's everybody that we got on the table today. So huge shout out for everyone that is showing up. One very quick thing and quick point that I would like to talk about before getting into the Hall of Fame MLC, and I'm very curious on everybody's thoughts here on it. There is the Raw is Rewards blog post, not really a contest. I'm curious what everyone's thoughts on this are, and I kind of wanted this to be a little quick hitter point here. I don't think there's much to really go into, but just a couple of things that we can touch base on. There was the Butts in Seats community event, the blast from the past 10 days of freebies that they have given out, and the up to 30x multiplier for logging in. So 3 things that the devs did essentially for the community that they didn't really need to, but I'm curious if anyone felt like, I guess, was this good? Was this bad? Was it something that felt like it was necessary or not? Did anyone really feel like any of this was enough of something to mention, to talk about? I'm curious here. So my quick little 2 cents on this, I would like to say, and I'm very, very unfortunately not aware of every single character that was given out for free in the 10 days of claims. I know there was Hall of Fame Brett and Rocky Maivia and Tech Ronda, and I know that there was like a couple of them that were in there. I'm just not certain what all of them were. But there was about 20 characters that were given out for free. I think Tech Cody was amongst them too. Maybe B-Rock. I don't know if you have a list of this, because I'm sure there's plenty of people that recruited some new characters there on your end. But there was the freebie giveaways, there's the portal event, and there is the 30 consecutive day login streak for Royal Rumble 25, the countdown to it. So I know it's not a big talking point, like it's a big event or anything like that, but I'm curious, what did you guys think about, I guess, this community handout is probably what we can call it. Anyone have any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. I understand going in that not everything is going to be for me. So I'm okay when they give out like those posters that I already have, because I know that there's players out there that got themselves Tech Cody for the first time, and that really helps their roster. And anything to keep more players playing is always a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's the number one thing for me on this whole thing. I may have it, but I am always very vocally supportive of when the masses can walk away with a win. And I feel like just for logging in, that was a win.
Yeah. Bob, I think we've talked about this before, but right now is the most popular moment in the history of WWE. So there are going to be new players checking out the game. I like to think about these events as being like a goodwill algorithm, right? Where they're showing and demonstrating that they can give, even though it may not be high value items to the longtime player, at least there is some intentionality to say, we really want to attract and retain new players.
I think that what you're saying there, this probably hits the nail on the head there, in terms of trying to bring in that new player base. I think that it's probably not enough for the existing player base to feel like it's a game changer, and that's okay. But the idea that as a new player, if I were to just log in every day for 10 days and get 20 new characters, I mean, I can think of when we all very first started. And it doesn't matter if you started on day 1 or year 1 or whenever it was, there was never a point in time where you just logged in and got a character. Apart from, Showboat Cena and Powerhouse Roman Reigns, like the ones that you get when you create an account. There was never a time that you just logged in and you're like, oh, I get a character. Oh, I get 2 characters. Oh, I get 10 characters. Like, that wasn't a thing. And I think that they're doing a pretty decent job of trying to provide to that player base.
And simultaneously, this came right on the heels of the 316 contest that had 3 poster recruits daily in it for new players.
Yeah. That one I remember getting a list for, which was a significant list. I think B-Rock was also on that podcast and was mentioning that I think it was the majority of his faction recruited more than one new character just by logging in there. Um, I still remember that Cora Jade was part of that login crew, and I remember when Cora Jade first came out, she was not like a drop in the bucket character where you log in, you log out, and you walk away with Cora Jade. She was pretty darn rare. And the fact that they've been making her more available is pretty awesome to me.
Yeah. So for the last one, not this one so much, but the one before, we had a lot of people get new champs that they added to their roster. This one was a little bit different because a lot of people got shards to help level up other people. It was more shard based for a lot of my faction. I will say, I think I scored Jade with that whole mess up. So I think that's why they made her more available because I'm pretty sure her rarity spiked with that whole mess up where everybody got. It was like Cora Jade, Liv. Who else was? Who was that? Was it Bradshaw was part of
I
that?
think
There
it
was
was
a bunch of people.
Bradshaw, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people that got all these people for basically nothing, and it didn't fix it. So I think that's why you see the Core Jade being more available. I did like the fact that they did that for some of the lower end factions and their participants and their members, because there were some other people who were uh, who I was engaged talking with, who were asking questions about, you know, free to play, feud builds for people. And I'm like, you all just got Grayson Waller basically for free. If he's your top showboat, there you go. You can make it work with him without having, a high spend amount for bells and whistles. You can make Grayson Waller work, and it's the same thing for now. You have this person and this person. You can make Shredder work. It's free. So I think every time they do something like that, there is a bonus to the average player.
Yeah.
Funny. I think this reaches back to what we were talking about with Feud and everything in general. I know we make fun of it, the penthouse, right? But take a look at it logistically. There is no penthouse. There's no floor, right? So in this game, like any other game, there's natural progression, natural building. It doesn't make anyone less or worse or better. It's just the way things go. So when you do this, and you revamp characters that, if you've been playing the game for a few years, you've obviously got them or close to getting them or have a lot of cards of. So you look at the NWO, the Steve Austin, and all that, and these revamps that you could, to quote B-Rock, your average player, you could take Macho Man and make him one of the best cards in the game with these prize walls if you just, focus on doing that, right? So if you, narrow your focus down and focus on doing that one card, you can change your roster a little bit. So I think that's great. And then you turn around and you hit it again with the Austin. Every day you were getting like 1,000,000 metal bits and resources and whatever it was, just for logging in and playing the game, which is something that obviously actively engages and gives people a reason to play. And then you're getting free cards on top of it. So as a newer player, you can get to a competitive level where you feel that you can do things that you need to do to get better. You can work your way up from the first floor to the whatever floor. So I got to give Scopely props on that, because this is something we talked about years ago. I know, in our chats and with other content creators, where, if you started the game today, you're in a bad place. Because what do you do? I tried starting a new account. I was like, there's no way. This was 2-3 years ago. Now, to be honest with you, it doesn't look that awful. So I think they're doing a better job. Obviously, could improve on our regular events and our weekend, I think. But there is progression there. So I enjoy it, and I give props to Scopely for that.
Any thoughts on I guess the community event really wasn't much to talk about. It was a couple of collection pieces and a 100% gem damage strap. I mean, that one was an easy skip over. And outside of the freebies, I mean, has anybody hit this 30x login yet? Or no? Or has anyone seen anybody hit the 30x login, I guess, is also a better question.
I hit 29 and 27 personally.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hit 28. I've not seen anybody with 30.
Yeah, I think I hit 28 today. But I don't think I've seen anybody hit 30 yet.
23 here.
23 for yourself?
29 as well. I hit 29 once.
29.
I hit 13 and I lost my mind. I thought I won the lottery.
Yeah, so it seems like nobody's hit that 30x yet. Maybe, just maybe, it's because I read the blog and it says maintain your streak to enjoy the 30x multiplier. Maybe you have to log in for 30 days straight and everybody will hit the 30x. And until that 30th day, I guess you can hit up to 30x. Has anyone felt like that is a sizable change to the daily rewards? Do you is that enough to make a difference for anybody right now, or does it still feel like a drop in the bucket?
It's the multiplier is only on what, TP a coin? Is it?
No, it's on everything.
Is it on everything?
It's on everything in that. Yeah, it's on everything in that. So even your moment coins, which was big. When I saw that, I said, "Ooh, I really like that."
It's not on your other past rewards. It's on what you get normally. So we used to do the tour and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
anything on that, yeah.
It's the daily stuff. It won't include, if you're subbed to the strap up pass, where you get strap parts and metal bits, it will not increase that. But all the daily stuff, like the TP, the coins, like B-Rock mentioned, the moment coins, a lot of that gets that pick me up. Just curious if that felt like it was a needle mover for anybody or not.
I didn't even know what it was doing. So I don't know if I've hit 30. If you had that streamers falling down for me to know if I hit that 30, because everything just goes into the inventory and I'm thrilled and I'll take it, but I haven't seen anything that I use have an enormous amount extra than I would normally expect.
Okay, so it feels like a drop in the bucket for Envy, okay?
Normally you would only hit up to 13, right? And it's random up, I think.
Something close to that, like 12, 13, yeah.
Yeah. So they're giving away for free. You don't got to do anything different. Just log it in. I think it's great. I don't see how it can hurt anyone.
Yeah. I know they were mentioning we might be getting new login rewards, things along those lines. I'm curious if it's just going to be kind of what happened with the health pack situation, where we used to have what we have now used to be called the speed healing or whatever for that one feud, where it essentially would heal up all your characters in 15 minutes time or something like that, and that was supposed to be a one-off for feud and then just became the norm. I'm wondering if this is going to be very similar, where this is supposed to be the intended upgrade for our daily rewards, and this is just what it's going to be. And that's kind of why I'm curious if this feels like enough of an upgrade to the daily rewards, or if it just feels like kind of like what Envy's saying, where drop in the bucket, and move on. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Raw is rewards. Like I said, not a major talking point. If anyone else has anything that they want to chime in with that, please feel free. Otherwise, we will move forward to the new MLC.
On that, on kind of like on that same plane, something I wish they would work on and change a little bit is our health pools are ridiculously higher than they used to be, and our health packs haven't changed in a long, long time. I've noticed it where I used to be in the hundreds of thousands of health packs. I'm needing to hit that prize wall every month, to keep up, because of all the weird requirements we get in certain showdown events or whatever. So I'm hoping maybe that's on the agenda along with those lines of log.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same exact thing because I'm really low on health packs as well.
So health pack shortage seems to be the key here. Okay, can dig it. I know that they definitely have that available on the prize wall. But that being said, I definitely think the health packs could use a little pick me up. I think instead of 10,000 base, even if they move it to 100,000 base, would be just fine. I know that when I very first started this podcast, I remember the concept of health packs used to enrage people so much that they just wanted to get rid of them, that why should health packs even be a thing? But even if you moved it up from 10K to 100K, or a million, whatever that number is, there would still be a range for them being required, and they can use it as a resource for whatever reason they want to. Is up to them, obviously, but I could see a little refresher being needed on the health packs too. But yeah, I think that's where we'll end our Raw is Rewards section, our little Raw is Rewards portion of the talk here. And what we can move on to is the MLC, the brand new MLC, the Ring of Immortality Hall of Fame MLC is upon us. It is a 3-week MLC, not a 5-weeker like we've had the past 2 months, not a 4-weeker like we typically have. 3 new Hall of Famers include Molly Holly Hall of Fame, Goldberg Hall of Fame, and Ron Simmons Hall of Fame. Make sure to keep in mind you will not find him if you search up Farouk in the game. So you need to search up Hall of Fame or Ron Simmons to find him. So make sure not to think that he doesn't exist, because I know a couple people were mentioning that they can't find him. On top of that, the freebie on the month is Powerhouse Goldberg. And by freebie on the month, I'm referring, of course, to the collection contest character. The one that we had last month was Acrobat R-Truth. We had Ozzy Osbourne Trickster at one point. We had Rosie. We just had Rowan Powerhouse, who got re-released, revamped, all that good stuff. This month, it is Powerhouse Goldberg. And in the showdown that we have, as far as I know, every single week, it has to go up against Kevin Nash, which I think is pretty funny with the history between the two of them. And actually very funny how multiple Kevin Nashes are actually very good against Powerhouse Goldberg. So a lot to talk about in regards to this new monthly. These new Hall of Fame characters as well. And one little caveat about two caveats actually about these characters. And I was talking a little bit with Rusty about this before the podcast started, was their new entourage ability. And something that I will probably be going in on later in this podcast part. So I apologize for those of you that are sick and tired of hearing my voice. But the gem reverse move that got implemented this month is on all 3 of these characters. Something else to talk about with the inclusion of a new MLC comes the new characters that join the Universal Club store, which is on the portal. The club now includes all of the Wyatt 6 characters. The two that I know the price tags of are Abby the Witch, who is 700,000, and the return of a 1 million currency character. Uncle Howdy hits the club store for 1 million club store coins. So lots to talk about in regards to the start of a new MLC. And I don't want to be a hog on the podcast, and I would like to be a little bit more of a host than just someone who's at the table here. So very curious what everybody's thoughts are in regards to our monthly contest.
If it's okay, I'll kick it off, Bob, because I think there's a transition here between we're seeing more login rewards, we're seeing some of this goodwill algorithm, like I mentioned earlier, and yet Talent Up coins were worth a fraction of what they were worth in previous months.
Yeah.
So the health packs, the moment coins, TP, the demand to play the game is higher than it's ever been, and the return on the demand feels lower than it has been. So for me, that was the first mile marker of this MLC was, whoa, they want more and are giving me less. Why?
Yeah, that talent up was... Whew, that talent up was brutal. To kind of give a little bit of, not so much clarification, but further, I guess, detail on what Rusty's talking about for those that are listening in, whether live or on the on-demand playback on YouTube. The talent up was only paying out 1 point for every 100 coins that was spent, instead of 1 point for every coin that was spent. So when he says a fraction, it's literally 1/100th. Your dollar was now worth a penny when it came to the talent up. And yes, they obviously lowered the amount of points required. They didn't keep it at 1.5 billion talent up points. They moved it down to 170 million, which essentially shaved off 1 0, but the value that your coins were shaved off 2 zeros. On top of that, some very heavily adjusted points per token, and that was brought to my attention by numerous people, that they had taken up 1 character to 6-star gold and had it maxed, 2 characters to 6-star gold had it maxed, 3 characters to 6-star gold had it maxed, and it's like, what is going on here? I used to remember, and I get it, you know, I'm in a different boat than a lot of people. I used to remember that I was getting frustrated. I could only take up 1 character to 6-star gold and not max a talent up. And now it was like, well, don't even worry about it. You could take up 4 and you still won't max. It's like, this is night and day. So, yeah, there's a lot to approach on this start of MLC. And the talent up definitely being the kickoff part of it, that was severe. And I think the fact that we're going to have 2 feuds this month, that means that we're going to have another talent up in 2 more weeks. I don't think that talent up is changing from what it was earlier this week. I think we're going to see another one of those.
Yeah, I mean, that talent up was brutal. I mean, I was at work. I wasn't really paying attention. So I thought it was a normal talent up. Just did some things and went and looked. I was like, wait a minute. Hold on. I think it didn't count some. Axed around a little bit and was like, wait. So, okay. That's why. I think the previous talent up was too easy. It was something that needed to be changed a little bit. When you consider how many points, it was really 1 6-star gold. If you took 1 card up, if you could, and that was it. That maxed the whole thing. So It needed some adjustment. I think this is, again, another Scopely overcorrection. And then hopefully it'll get balanced out by next MLC. Being a 3-week one, I'm doubtful. We might be facing this for a little while, so we'll see how that goes. Overall, so far, my impressions of this month, it's a 3 week, so they condensed a few things I like. The starter pack, if you went and got the 4-star silver starter pack, you could actually take that card to 5-star without spending another dime. With the amount of tokens they're giving in the event this weekend, as well as going on that prize wall that you get access to for getting that. I think that's a pretty neat change. It doesn't help with the original up until Friday, opening tour thing, but I mean, it does help you get that the 3 tokens to get that max reward from the MLC prize wall. So I do like that. I hope that stays. I doubt it does. I think it's just a product of the 3-week thing that they messed up on, honestly. But I thought that was pretty cool. It actually adds value to something that needs more value for what they care. The cards themselves, to be determined. I like using them. Every card, 1 gear given 4 MPs. It change. Usually, you need to get 2-3 gears to get that ability. So I mean, that's kind of cool. The $20 pack to get a gear for these cards, even better. I think we've always complained and put value on something to make it worth getting, and I think they did that with that part. I hope that stays long term. The change in, I made a joke about it. We kind of hit the ceiling on gem damage. So how would you fix that? No, now we just counter it off. Every Hall of Famer having this counter ability is going to be interesting. It's going to lead to some issues, which again, we'll go back to the health pack, because I think people are going to feel that a little more after this feud. So we'll see about that. And the cards themselves, they're good. I like the names they used. Farouk, I love Ron Simmons being included. Goldberg, Molly is always, I'm always a fan of him. So, yeah, I do like the names they picked out this time. Of course, I still think we're going to get that mystery open your bank account star for the last week or the 3rd week, so we'll see how that. But some good, some bad. The talent up is rough, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, there's a lot to this month. I'm pretty interested with the names that they chose to. I don't really see a trend with it, other than they're a bit on the older side. But that's most Hall of Famers, right? You don't have modern day Hall of Famers in the game or in the industry for that matter. But I'm looking forward to this month, honestly. I know a lot of people are kind of down on this month. A lot of people are already checked out on this month. I think a lot of people just don't like Hall of Fame month, which is surprising to me, I guess, because we're going to always have one at this rate, is what it feels like. It feels like October is our Zombies month, and it feels like January is our Hall of Fame month. I guess I'm just always so caught off guard when I realize how much disdain there is for this monthly every time that it comes around. I remember when Hall of Fame very first came out, and they were essentially charging $1 per shard, and each Hall of Fame character was 2,000 shard recruit. So do the math, $2,000, and that was per character. And then on top of that, it wasn't even just that. It's like, okay, now that you got the character, and now you got to get the gear also. And not only do you have to get the 1 gear, you got to get the 2 gears. And it was a pretty brutal experience for most. This month, I mean, provided they go with the typical trend, I mean, you already have Molly if you've been logging in for every day for 4 days for free. Goldberg, I'm hoping with the revamped from 4 and 5 weeks to a 3-week, shouldn't be too difficult to obtain. Most of the A-tier characters are kind of just play the monthly and you get them as long as you play. Obviously, Ron Simmons is going to be the S tier, and the S tier takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of money, a little bit of playtime on top of what you would normally do for the A tier. And that's okay to me that they always have that type of character too. I think the hidden character this month, as they've mentioned with their envelopes or whatever these things are, invitations, whatever the collection contest pieces are. There's a mystery one.
Hall of Fame speeches.
Hall of Fame speeches. Thank you. Yeah, whatever there is a mystery fourth one. So I'm expecting for there to be a very heavily paywalled character in the pipeline towards the end of the month, or the end of the MLC, I should say. I'm not really sure how that's all gonna play out when it's only 3 weeks, but they're gonna have 4 characters. But that being said, they've also found a way to squeeze in more characters, essentially every month nowadays. I view this month a little bit differently, I guess. I was shocked that they essentially sold the Goldberg gear for $20, and essentially both Molly gears. So you get one Molly gear for spending $20, and then you get the second Molly gear by simply just doing CSS. And the CSS this time around, there's no actual like hardline requirements. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, you've been seeing me set up essentially for the duration of both parts. You've been watching me set up my CSS lineups. That's one of every class that exists in the game, and then one of every era in the game that is not modern, PG, or the promoters. That's what your CSS consists of. And so for me, like, my CSS, I'm trying to cross as much as I can. So while I'm doing my legend CSS, I'm also doing my tech CSS. While I'm doing my attitude CSS, I'm also doing my striker. While I'm doing my powerhouse, I'm also using my ruthless aggression. Like, my reality is my showboat. Things like that. Like, that's what I'm trying to aim for here. And I think it's 6 matches for the era and 10 matches for the class. So yeah, maybe I'll end up using the era a little bit more than I need to, but I'm not really worried about that. This shouldn't be too horrible of an experience for most players. We just talked about the revamped attitude strikers that we have out there. I know this is going to sound silly, but my ruthless aggression character that I'm going to be using is going to be the free powerhouse Goldberg that they're giving us right now, with his revamp. There's a good chunk of characters out there that will fit for any era and any class, and as long as you do that, to circle back to our original point, that's how you get the other Molly Holly gear. So I'm kind of like dumbfounded this month compared to how expensive Hall of Fame month has been in the past. This doesn't seem as punishing as most Hall of Fame months have been on the wallet. So that's kind of why I'm thankful for this month, and I'm looking forward to it, because if I don't have to spend all that much and I can just play my game, then I'm content.
Yeah, for me, this month really feels like it's on easy mode. Don't really plan on spending. The card artwork doesn't look that great. I thought when I saw the preview on Mute, I thought Ron Simmons was Tully Blanchard, but I mean, going through the month so far, I like in the Extreme Rules tour they give you the chance to get the 6-star token, and I got one of those off the Extreme Rules tour, and then I just went to the prize wall, and so I had enough to get another token. I did a 2-pull and came away with 6-star gold DDP, which I needed for CSS for this weekend.
Hall of Fame DDP?
Yeah.
Add 6-star gold.
6-star gold.
That's a huge win. Holy.
So I got him at level 1 just doing that power gem move, level to the max, and oh boy. As long as I catch somebody in 6-star silver, ooh, they're out. Turn 1. Hopefully.
That's a hell of a pickup there, Envy.
Yeah, congrats on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I actually can't help but point this out now that Envy's talked about it. And maybe it's just me, okay, but the models this year on Hall of Fames, they look like they're made out of milk chocolate. All right, I can't unsee it. The
Maybe
second,
that's a new Scopely line coming out. They're gonna sell chocolate on the website, and there you go.
Easter Bunny Ron Simmons.
the second I saw Molly Holly, I'm like, this is milk chocolate Molly. Like
I was gonna say
that's
Valentine's Day is coming up. Maybe.
I I just can't unsee it.
So apparently they've been the developers have been trying to work really hard about making the Hall of Fame statues look more realistic. And I think they're even scheduled to go back and rework some of the oldest Hall of Fame models and try to sharpen them up. So we might see a lot of milk chocolate in the coming days.
You're gonna give me a milk chocolate matcha over here?
Watch out for the hitman. If you know, you know.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, anything on the surface of the MLC here, Sensei, that you want to talk about?
Yeah, no, I was a lot of what you said is what I 100% felt. It Hall of Fame month is now just I remember like when I got Piper for free. That was my first Hall of Fame character ever. It was a big deal.
Oh
And
yeah.
now it's like, okay, all right. It's just Hall of Fame's very mad to me because they used to be like the elite card to get, and as you said, with $1 a shard, it worked out to be.
Yep.
And now you look at these cards, and they're just regular cards that look better in silver. I guess I don't. And the other thing is, I'm trying to think who they could make as the mystery card that everybody's going to go ooh, because there's like really no one left that they haven't made Hall of Fame.
Is there a Hall of Fame Bradshaw? Or JBL?
I don't know.
No, there isn't. Not yet. So, I mean, that would make sense to pair him up with Ron Simmons in the same month. But again, Scopely.
I mean, he is wearing his APA shirt, so I don't know. I mean, that's my only thought on as for the cards themselves, like I said, Molly was easy to take the 5-star if you bought the 4-star pack. Kind of cool. She looks decent for Hall of Fame tech. I think she's it, especially with 99 MP. Then you got Simmons, who's a Power Gem monster. If somehow I got lucky, I got him this week. If you can somehow get both his gears, he is the best Power Gem card in the game outside of Batista, probably. And then I think people are not going to understand how good Goldberg is actually for Showboat. He's not going to wow you with number damage. He's not going to hit stratosphere numbers. He's going to hit 75, 9 to 85 million in Feud, which is the number. And he's also going to do it in 2 clicks that you don't touch the board. So I think once people start to realize that, they're going to be a little more up on it, especially considering you can get his 4 MP gear for $20. I mean, 30, what was it, 30 or 20, whatever it was.
$20.
Yeah, I mean, to get the gears before it was arm, leg, and maybe a third child. It was kind of weird to come out here and say, here's 4 MP forever. Forget the 99 MP. Here's an extra 4 MP to start with forever for $20. Good win for us. I think something that, once people start playing with and getting the card, if when it happens, because the 2000 shard recruit, I mean, I didn't, other than that one pack in the midweek, I didn't spend, and I already had like 100 shards coming into the weekend. So they're giving it out. I think people will get them and maybe have an appreciation for using the card because he's Rex Regamish.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some Evo gameplay up in the near future here with this Goldberg and this Power Gems on Ron Simmons over here, because I am not a Power Gem guy on Ron Simmons. I feel like they're way too weak, but that's also just a me thing. I feel like if I had these characters and could playtest them, I probably would be able to give a better breakdown of them. And I know that's the bucket that you're in right now, Evo, but I'm sure I'll get there eventually by the end of the month, and that will be no problem for me.
Just let me know, Bob.
Yep, you know it. But yeah, I mean, this monthly's got a lot on it. What I'd like to kind of shift into in regards to the monthly, uh, it's a double-edged sword. So, um, the trainer abilities on all of these Hall of Famers. Rusty and I were actually briefly talking about this before the podcast went live. I think Rusty is looking forward to these trainers almost immediately out the gate. Um, and I think my own outlook on this is I can see where they will have value now, but I think that they will have more. I guess what the term that Rusty used to use was evergreen value. I think that's where their true value is going to lie as this game progresses. Right now, I know that like using the power ranking, the scale is 60 million. Evo himself is just mentioning, hitting 75 to 85 million being a number. My mark isn't like a two bob mark type of thing, but I just look at numbers from a numbers perspective. So when you hit nine figures, right, 100 million, right, all these numbers, we have so many characters that can hit those numbers. It's not like you only have two or three people that can hit 60 million, 80 million, 100 million. There's maybe only a handful of people that could hit a billion damage, but you don't need a billion damage in today's day and age of the game. But for all these characters that can hit 100 mil, you don't really have to worry about using these kick out bonuses and this health stuff because most of these characters are gonna just hit for 100 mil and you'll move on and that's it. And you're done already. I think that when we get into, because I'm sure at this point they have to have some type of rarity upgrade in their minds. Whether it's going to happen now or tomorrow or 8 months down the road, none of that makes a difference to me. But they have to have something in mind. Whether it's 7-star bronze, whether it's 6-star diamond or platinum or emerald or whatever you want to call it, there's gotta be some type of increase that is missing in the game because there's no rational reason why we would have people doing 150, 170, 200, 500 million damage when our health pools are only 60 million. So to me, I think that when we get to whatever that next rarity is, whenever we get to that point of 7-star or 6 diamond, and our health pools jump from a base of 60 million up to 150, 175, 200 million health, something along those lines, that's when these trainers are going to have such an insane value. Because then you could actually start building. There's already people in the game that do. They build health. They build vitality. We've seen a Hall of Fame Sean on a player's account with over 170 million health at 6-star gold. So when that character moves up to 7-star bronze or whatever it is, and we just assume that it's 3 times the health, for example, which is what it was this past rarity increase, that Sean is going to have 500 million health. If you can add on to that 500 million another 30%, and the kickout bonus, and the MP to still make him turn 1, now you're really dealing with fire. Like, now you're really, really playing with some very tough, obstacles that you got to encounter. And so I'm really intrigued in regards to what everyone's thoughts on these trainers are, because when I first looked at them, and I still will call them this, to me, they're the kitchen sink trainer. They got everything in the kitchen sink. You got MP, you got gem damage, you got health, you got kick out. All in one. To me, these trainers hugely devalue Seth freaking Rollins. It's the same gem damage bonus. The only thing Seth brings is a Juggernaut gem. You might as well go for Goldberg. The Streak Begins, who is less than a third of the cost of Seth on the club store on the portal, and it's a coach, not a trainer, that you don't have to use up a trainer slot for MP or anything else along those lines. So to me, Seth goes way down, and all these new trainers for the Hall of Fame come with MP. Seth doesn't. The fact that all these trainers come with MP also entirely devalues Judgment Day Dominic Mysterio, Gunther, Big Papa Pump, Tori Wilson, all of them, every single one, right in the trash. Because why would you take one of them when you could have 40% to all damage instead of just one? You could still have the same color MP that you need, and you get a kick out and health bonus. So, really curious what people are thinking about this trainer ability that essentially all of these Hall of Famers have so far. It's not just a Molly or just a Goldberg, it's all of them.
So I'm gonna let everyone in the line here a little insight into how my brain works and how scary it is. So I saw these trainers and I kind of thought them on. It's gonna be. I think they're great. First and foremost. But my first thought was, damn, there's only 3 cards this month, possibly 4 that we think of. There's 6 colors. Who the 2 getting screwed again? That was my first thought. But yeah, I mean, look at you, like you just said about Gunther. He's an oddball trainer. 2 of whatever color, and then gem damage on a different color. Right away, you think, okay, so it's 50, I think it is, right? Gunther, or maybe 40. But right away, why not just do every color? Because you're gonna have cascades and whatever whenever you do that. So I think the value in these cards is going to be the trainers moving forward, especially like when you consider the next rare level, where percentages, as you've seen, from bronze to gold to silver, where we went from flat, maybe percentage to all percentage. It's only going to be all percentage moving forward. So, yeah, I mean, given all colors, you don't need. So if you need an MP and gem damage, you don't have to worry about being. I need green MP but yellow gem damage, or vice versa, whatever. So I think they can be very valuable, and I really hope they make all 6 of them.
I think there's a chance that we see whatever we pick up as the free and the chase, so to speak, the B tier, A tier, in the anniversary month. There's a good chance I think that those characters will end up getting the 2 missing MP colors for those trainers. I obviously have no insider information, clearly. But if I had to make an educated guess, I think that's where it's going to go, for sure. But anyone else's thoughts on these trainers? I think that I think it's a very solid talking point.
I think anything that adds more gem damage is always a plus. When looking around for trainers, I always, sometimes you gotta get the extra 2 MP just to get them started in Feud. So you do a 2 MP plus a 1 MP of a move that you don't have, or a 2 MP plus silence gem damage or whatever. So having gem damage all across the board is always a good spot to have when you're just putting an extra 2 MP because you need to, when you really would want to up your gem damage any chance you get.
Yeah, I think there's some major value. I wasn't even talking about King Gunther too, which is what Evo was talking about. I was just talking about Tech Gunther. But King Gunther is another one that they literally just came out with as a 5K character, and value just right down the drain for his trainer.
I'm with Evo. I was gonna say I'm with Evo. I think I like them. I think they're a good addition, especially for people who are getting them now, who may need that, who don't have Seth or aren't going to be able to get Seth. I'm actually surprised that they didn't put something like this in there sooner.
Yeah, I think this is solid. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're great additions to the game.
Well, remember, in Feud, you have to run 9 people, right? So, I mean, now you kind of. My thing has always been finding affiliation and sacrificing cards for affiliation draft. To where, we have to use them a lot. I'll take off the affiliation to use them when we need skill if the requirement makes it that difficult. I think that lessens the need for affiliations a little bit more when you talk about your Tech Gunthers and your Judgment Day Doms and all your 240s, right? Your 2 MP 40% one. So I kind of like as they work in coinciding with those, that it makes gives you more of a broader set of tools to work with. I don't think it devalues them as much though as it kind of broadens your possibilities. If you got a card that you normally throw Gunther on to get 40% more gen damage of blue? No, whatever it was.
Purple.
Purple. And then instead of that, now you could use one of these cards to give you any gem, right? And then you could focus on your cards that blow up the board and make them purple, and leave Gunther for those. So I think it actually opens up rather than devalues those cards, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't see how. I really, I don't see how people devalue it. And then the health. You got strikers out here that if you build properly, they only got 50 million health. Adding another 15 million health makes it. You get a chance. Not that defense matters, but you got a chance of if you do mess up and get hit, you can survive a little bit. Get them back.
Yeah, Evo, a great example of that would be striker Naomi, who she wants more green damage. She wants green MP. She needs more health, and her kick out, if you increase it by 75%, you've just extended the shelf life of striker Naomi certainly into the next meta if there was a danger of her phasing out.
Yeah, I can see some honest major value from these trainers being added to the game. B-Rock, I haven't heard from you. What's your thoughts on these new Hall of Famers, brother?
So I know that the game is ever evolving. I'm not a huge Hall of Fame month guy.
Yep.
It's worse than zombies for the most part because I know that this one's a little different, so we don't have to come incredibly out of pocket try to get gears. I will say that I did spend for the Goldberg one, just in case I get them. So outside of that, I'm not a huge Hall of Fame month fan. Um, to be honest with you, the cards look like trash. It's just I don't want to bury it. I'm trying to be positive, right? Okay, so I'm a say it, and if I get canceled, I get canceled. Um, Scope in this game when it comes to African American characters, they always look like crap. Then we got R-Truth, and R-Truth looked great. I'm like, okay, yes. Then we get Ron Simmons, who looks like the shark off of Justice League. Like it's hideous. And then you look at, I mean, I was like, okay, let's just throw this together and roll this out, and everybody's gonna. No, it looks like trash, 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 trash.
Oh my
Sorry,
god, that was funny. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it there.
but if you look at it, it's like Molly Holly is. I think it wasn't you that said it was chocolate bunny Molly Holly,
Yeah,
like she's an Easter egg.
milk chocolate butter, milk chocolate Molly. Yeah.
Think about that for a second. This is the game that they make millions of dollars, and we've reduced it to clowning. And I'm just saying, I'm not a huge um, Hall of Fame month guy. I only have one Hall of Fame that's 6-star gold. Um, so I don't put a whole lot of value in the Hall of Fame champs. I will say, in the past, you have is there really a Hall of Famer that beside, I guess, Brutus? And I'm gonna go off of Evo in this one. I think is he the best Hall of Fame for a fighter?
I mean, you can argue Macho, you can argue DDP. To be honest with you, both gears, it's so hard. A lot harder than people I think realize. But
So
yeah,
it would be
Macho,
down to those three.
Pretty much.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm just talking about excuse me, I'm just talking about as a fighter. So those three, and how many Hall of Famers do we have? So I think they're um more niche than anything. I don't think that it's not very often where I'm pulling out a Hall of Fame card to use, in May and June and November. I'm not pulling them out
Well,
unless it's absolutely required.
that's why I'm putting out there right now Goldberg and that gear. I don't know if that gear is still up. Goldberg will fit this meta. I think position to the next meta as well because gem damage, unless they scale it differently, typically goes up more than move damage and health. So I think the range he's hitting now will fit moving forward.
So that's why I'm like, and again, I have my eyes on bigger prizes for Striker. So when it's all said and done, like, is it something that I'm going to invest in long term? So this is a chill month for me. This is saving for next, pretty much.
This is a
And,
full kickback months for B-Rock.
and to be
Yeah,
fair, Goldberg is a showboat and also in a class showboat that has monsters galore. So
yeah. I mean, but I'm sorry. I was still stuck on, the shark from Justice League, Ron Simmons. But that's where this month lies for me. This is 3 weeks that I don't really have to do anything, um, and I can kind of skate through.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are hating on what Ron Simmons looks like. I myself was entirely dumbfounded when I first saw his model and the poster art. And I think the first thing that I said that I just blurted out, I was like, "Is that Ric Flair?" It's not very representative of Ron Simmons at all, which is just sad, to put it kindly. That we've come so far with making characters look decent and making models look good, and here we go with Hall of Fame and milk chocolate. Like, okay, well, kind of crapped the bed on that one if we're being real honest about it. Yeah, I mean we can kind of still talk about this because there's a decent amount to talk about here. All of these characters, every single one of them, has the new, and I'm not gonna say improved, the new reversal mechanic that has been added to the game. The reversal is essentially countering anyone that has a gem damage increase maneuver. That also goes for people that have gem decrease maneuvers. The way the wording reads is if the opponent's move changes either superstar's gem damage, then deal 2 million damage and steal the opponent's turn. Um, that is for all three of the new Hall of Fame characters. That is Molly Holly, Goldberg, and Ron Simmons. And as of yesterday, they updated not only the blog, but they updated and mentioned every single Hall of Fame character that has come out that utilizes the new Hall of Fame gold tokens also received that upgrade. I am not going to take the floor on this one first because I have some very, very strong feelings about this. I'm sure they will go nowhere because that's just how it works. But there's a lot to kind of uncover here with this whole reversal move and
Can
how
I,
widespread it's become.
can I,
As someone who spends a little bit, I'm gonna try and say it's utter bullshit. Yeah, it's bad.
okay.
Um, all these cards that came out that we paid money for are devalued instantaneously. Think about all these new cards that they all have Roman, uh, Yeet, Naya. I mean, Naomi that we just talked about. She booster gems, I think, in a move as well. You people, the message board. I hope the forum gets flooded, and good luck, moderators. But people are going to be really upset when they start losing, going up against Hall of Fame cards this weekend. For those that have them, and forgetting that it steals their turn. It nullifies anything. It makes you can't use gem boost against them. So good luck, and let people let them know that this is not good.
There are multiple reasons why this is like, there's different angles to touch on with this. Other people could touch other ones. But I'm going to say I have ADHD and I get frustrated quite easily, which some of you in my faction have noticed. But I can guarantee you tonight, when I'm feuding, I'm probably going to shut my phone down in tears at one point because I'm not going to be able to remember all of these people. And I'm just going to get frustrated and I'm just going to close the game down, which sucks.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a practice and fear factor because although all of them have it, some of them the moves you do use and some of them the moves you don't use. So it's always, am I running up against Macho, who I know is gonna have it out there, and it's gonna be a problem for me, or am I running up against Rey Mysterio, where you can put it on there, but you're just slowing yourself down. So it's kind of a which one has it. I know all of them could do it, but which ones actually have it loaded, and then which one of my stars used the gem damage up. Cause I was looking at my lineup, I said, "Wait a minute, I put up Ray out there for this weekend. Mutant Ninja Turtle Ray, he has a gem damage up. I'm probably screwed." So it's gonna be getting used to and having to scout extra before the match to know which people are a problem, which people aren't, and that's not fun. But luckily, nobody likes Hall of Fame people, so there won't be a ton of them out there in the future after this weekend, probably. But there'll be somebody, and when you're not thinking, you'll get caught slipping.
I got a question too. With Ron Simmons, right? He has a moose, or anyone that has power gems, they typically have a boost power gem. Would that count too? Would that be referred?
That will not count.
Okay.
Yeah, that will not count. So, B Rock, do you want to chime in before I kind of pop off here?
So I will say, I'll kind of repeat what I've already said. Come May, nobody's going to be using Hall of Fame to the most part. You will have your Evos. You will have your, I'm not going to say names, but you have some people who still do defensive builds for feuds, which I think is just being whatever. And I'm not going to curse. But you're going to have those people. And once you recognize it, they may catch you slipping the first time, but then it'll put it right into perspective for the next, 5 or 6 feuds. So Shell, don't worry, you'll break it. It'll only happen once, and then you'll be like, got it. I'm going to keep a lookout for these. Most of those characters, for I'm going to say, the average, they don't have them 6-star golds. So a lot of those Hall of Famers are going to be your 5-star gold, 6-star bronze, maybe some 6-star silvers. But you're not going to have too many of them. Probably you're going to see DDPs. You'll probably see Vaders. You'll probably see Brutus and Macho. Thinking about it, and outside of that, you're really not going to see too many. I don't think. On the women's side, what are you going to see? China, Tori Wilson.
China does not have the update because she uses
China
the old
doesn't have it.
tokens.
No, but I'm just saying that people are using.
Yep.
Like if you think about Hall of Fame women, who are people using? You're gonna see, like I said, China. You're gonna see Wendy. Maybe somebody way back when took Lita up. I don't know, but you're not going to see that many that are actually going to be offensively threatening, and they're probably not going to be leveled up high enough where even if you may not even need the gem boost to beat them. So that's just kind of my thought when it comes to that and them doing this, because I don't think it's going to have a huge effect for me.
Well, remember, this is the first wave, right? And we're talking about this current meta. As we talked about, this meta is going to become more gen damage and more moving forward. We'll get more cards with this. There's already move damage like this counters. So my biggest issue is you get all these people, you put these cards out there, like the Romans and whatever, that you have people that do get them or, get that lucky pull. They put all their resources in. You can't use them against these cards. And I don't think. I know it sounds childish, but I don't think it's fair. And this is that predatory thing that Scopely does sometimes, where like the Rocker Shans, when they change how they function, you're changing how these cards function because, in a sense, I guess it sounds a little more childish than I thought, but it's just something where it's this is the first part of it, and it's going to have more of an effect later on, and I worry about how much further to go with it.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Bjork.
No, that was me. I just think this is going to be, in the end, it's going to be a whole bunch of nothing. Kind of like, it's going to be the same as like the submission reversals. It sucked in the beginning, and now you just need to know who to look out for. And every once in a while, you forget, and then it's aggravating for 30 seconds, and then you just continue to play. Find someone else to play against that person.
Yeah, I mean, for the masses, I can see how if you just don't care, then no big deal. For the players who are actually trying to, if you're trying to hit that 500 mil, if you're trying to hit that 300 mil, if you're trying to get your CSS done, I can see this being a tremendous issue. I'm curious, but before I kind of go on my spiel here, Rusty, I don't think I've heard your take on these reversals. Would you like to chime in on these?
Yeah. So I guess I'm kind of an eternal optimist, and I see things through a lot of times through rose-colored glasses. I've been told. So here's my thing: I like the reversal, but what I don't like is that there's no warning indicator in the matchup screen.
Mm-hmm.
So if the devs could somehow indicate that there's an unfavorable matchup via hardcore move or reversal, like if the same way in the match how the move glows when you have the advantage, if there were a way to indicate you have the disadvantage in the matchmaking screen, I think the community would be a lot more excited about an addition or a rework like this. I think without it, it just feels like now the onus of knowing everything about every superstar is on all of the player base, and they don't have the capacity to do that. So much like Shell explained, there are going to be people that put down the phone, upset and frustrated at the integration of this in weekend one.
Yeah, and that's not a good way of of starting off integrating something new.
Tupac, before you go, and I'm going to give you the floor. They actually do have the ability to do it because they do it for boss battle.
Oh, of course.
So they have that little Rusty. They already have the capability of doing it, and I think that's a great idea that you just suggested. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute, they do that for boss battle. So when the match starts, it literally says reversal, such and such. They give you that little caption. So I don't think that would be a heavy lift if that's something that they did.
I also think people forget too that there's still a whole talent number disparity that a lot of us have just clicked don't remind me again. But if you take a 6,000 talent character in against someone who's 6-star gold at 30k, the game will give you a warning and it says there's a talent disparity here. Are you sure you want to continue? There's a lot of variables here that can be adjusted and should be adjusted. I will kind of, hop onto my pedestal at this point. Am I going to say that this is the worst update that this game has ever had? No. Am I going to say this is one of the worst updates this game has ever had? Yes. This, I think, fits up there with some of the penultimate worst things that has ever happened to this game. The amount of accessibility that these Hall of Fame characters have to the masses out there, this provides them with that access to whatever it is, okay? Whether it means like what B-Rock is saying of people that play defensively out there, their eggplant builds, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of terms that people use for it. It provides for that allowance, and it does not make it enjoyable. To Evo's point, this entirely nerfs and neuters a lot of the characters that you have spent crazy money chasing. Yeet, Jey Uso, not a free character. Not at all. Not even remotely close. Same thing with getting his gear, same thing with getting the skill plates, same thing with getting a strap for him that he can be strong to use him essentially moving forward. That super awesome Powerhouse Hogan revamp that we got, entirely useless against any of the new Hall of Fame characters. It's not an enjoyable atmosphere to have that many characters having a reversal. The JD McDonough reversal to move damage wasn't that big of a deal because it's one character. That's all. It's not like, okay, everybody in the Judgment Day now has a reversal to move damage bonus characters, and the amount of characters in the game that even boost their own move damage is like, you're talking like, I think there's 5 of them, maybe 6 of them in the entire game. Maybe if you want to get like to the super old ones that boost like a specific move damage color, like Bronson Reed is like 25% or 50% for red move damage alone, like maybe there's 10 of them across the entire 600 plus character game. It is so minute. The majority of good characters now are mainly based on one of two things. Either A, multiply gem damage, or B, gem damage increase. And the idea that there's this many characters with gem damage increase reversals now is insane. This isn't like, okay, just avoid JD McDonough. It's one more to add to the list of remembering, okay, don't fight Indy with multi, don't fight Z-Liv with multi, don't fight Tiffy with multi, don't fight this person with that, don't fight these people with those. It's already getting to a point where, piggybacking on what Rusty said, that it's putting the onus on the player base. This is too much. That's all. Like, there's no way around it. This is simply too much. You're talking about close to 20 characters that are going to have this reversal to what is used for the main gem damage, like not even the main gem damage, the main damage output that possibly exists in today's day and age of the game. That's where the real problem is. If there was a UI update, which I'm very hopeful that if I get added onto this month's call with the developers, that I will have even the smallest bit of support on, I will be pushing as best as I can, even if it's just making a quick little 30-second mention of it, to get the UI updated. I have been pushing for that since June of 2022. We are now in January of 2025. The UI is still not updated. For those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, I am talking about, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, this screen right here. When you literally go into a match, right before you hit the battle button, you can see everything on the surface, is what I would like to see. But instead, we get to see what the class and style of a character is. You get to see a very low-level, low-resolution form of what strap the character is using, and then you get to see the type of metal that is being used. This was never, ever a request that I had made in regards to UI back in June of 22, and when this got implemented, I was told my UI request has been completed. I almost blew a gasket. I want to see what trainers are being used. I want to see what coaches are being used. I need to know how to plan accordingly against my opponents. And now, prime time of all the times to ever do something like this, there's a move that gets released called the reversal move. If there was ever a time to update the UI so that a player could go into a match, the pre-match screen, and see what is it that they have to fight against without having to click on a character, dig into the bonus details, and scroll through the entire list of bonuses to see, well, maybe this guy has this moment, or maybe they're using that trainer or coach or reversal move. It is way too... It's a scavenger hunt to try and get the information that you need as a player to play the game accordingly. And to just say, well, you should know better. That worked for a couple of characters. And even that shouldn't be on the player basis. You probably should know, don't fight multiply gems against Tiffy. You probably should know, don't use multiply gems against Zombie Liv. At this point, hysterically enough, most people are going to know, don't bring column break gems against Big Papa Pump, because that's what they're all trying to test out with the new column break gem characters. But you're not going to remember all of this, and don't forget, don't bring in move damage against JD McDonough. Don't forget, don't bring in gem damage against all the new Hall of Famers. Don't forget. It's too much. So that's where my true hang-up is on this. There's a crazy amount of reasons why I dislike this. I don't think that this is going to make Feud any more engaging. I don't think this is going to make Feud any more fun. I think that a lot of the issues with Feud that we had seen in the past was that Feud is very restrictive in terms of who you have to use for CSS, who you have to use for lane requirements, who you have to use because, Tongaloa is the bottom left character in the Feud. You have to use Tongaloa. This is just going to exacerbate it even worse. Because now if you fight Hall of Fame characters, you can't use a gem damage boost guy. And now if you fight Hall of Fame characters who have an anti-multiply gem coach, you can't use a gem boost guy or a multi-gem guy. And it's not to say that it's impossible to win. There's always ways to win. That always exists in the game. You will always find a way to win. But to be told that now I have to use someone that doesn't use a gem boost, doesn't use a multi-gem, does use the move damage, now I'm essentially pigeonholed into what we just talked about maybe 5 minutes ago, that there's maybe 10 characters in the game who boost their own move damage. So now almost every feud I have to have one of these characters in my lineup for the just in case scenario. Just in case you're fighting someone who has 4 Hall of Fame gold characters, you got your 1 move damage guy. That doesn't scream fun or make me want to feud. It restricts me even more into now I have to have XYZ character or ABC character in case this happens. It is no longer a fun game mode that I get to use the characters I want. It becomes a required game mode that I have to use the characters that I need to use to get past this blockade, this wall of no gem boosts. That is my whole pedestal argument here for why I really and severely, truly disdain this update that every single one of them has it. If it was just 1 or 2 or even 3 of them, Molly's the one you avoid, Farouk and Goldberg are the ones you avoid, fine. But the fact it's every single Hall of Fame gold character and the onus is still on the player to know better, there needs to be something that is a benefit for the players, because just giving the players the reversal isn't enough. That is truly my biggest gripe with this whole thing.
I'm going to throw some reinforced gems on you real quick, Bob. Take a look at your feud lineup tonight. Who is in the middle line? Rex Regum. How do you win with Rex Regum? You boost the gem damage. Don't use it against the Hall of Fame. Oh, wait. It's a Hall of Fame event. It's set up for failure. It's going to be rough.
Yeah. You are incentivized to using characters that have gem damage boosts or multiply gems in this game mode that is now going to be flooded with characters that have this reversal. The CSS alone, Rey Mysterio is 1, Shawn Michaels is 2, Angle is 3, Macho is 4, Diamond Dallas Page is 5, Goldberg is 6. Those are just your CSS alone that you have to win with. That means that people that have those characters, they're going to be using those characters in their lineup because they want their points. And I don't blame those people one bit. I would want my points too. That's why I've been looking to see how I can make these characters work on my own lineup. But I don't enjoy the concept that this is going to bring to Feud. I think this is going to be very troublesome for the masses out there. And I don't think this is going to just be a penthouse issue that only the penthouse players who are running 300k lineups have to fight the multi-downs. No, I don't. I think that a lot of the characters that got released lately all have some type of gem damage increase or decrease that you're going to want to use and cannot get away with using. And I think that's a huge problem. So I am not a fan at all of what this is going to end up being. At all.
I think maybe the guy who invented Dodge just got his ultimate revenge.
It does feel like that, huh? It feels like Dodge is gone, and now this reversal is here to stay. Very, very tremendously so.
Can I ask? Because I'm getting a little lost. What do you mean by multi-gem? I'm just lost on one.
So, if, for example, think about your Goldberg that you have, right, Evo?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say you have the gem damage reversal move. No one like Rex Regum will be able to take down your Goldberg. Right? It's impossible.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw a multi-down coach on, but that's not a Scopely change. You know what I mean?
No. The multi is not a Scopely change. It's something to pile on top of what this change is. Because the environment of your Goldberg means that I need to use someone who doesn't use either. And that pool of characters is so limited that it is not going to be an enjoyable atmosphere for someone to say, well, you can kind of pick from like these 10 characters that don't use multiply gems because you're going to fight someone with a down coach and doesn't use a gem damage boost because it's a reversal, that will still do enough damage to beat him at 6-star gold. Do those characters exist? Of course they exist. Everything always exists in the game. Rowan Rabbit exists. Showboat Solo Sokoa exists. Leonardo and Technician Rocky still exist, right? Like, there are characters out there that will of course exist, but now you're limiting my player pool because of that. And that's what doesn't create a fun atmosphere. I want to be able to use, maybe not all 600, but I want to be able to use a good chunk of my roster in Feud. I don't want to have to say, oh, another Feud. Time to break out Rowan again in every single Feud. Another Feud, have to break out Tech Rocky again every single Feud. And a lot of these characters are on the pricey side. So, like, just because I'm okay, and just because I'm sure you'll be okay, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to be okay. The Showboat Solo Sokoa is a 5K recruit. Tech Rocky was a $500 card on the portal. Leonardo Seth, not the cheapest character to get in the game either. Like, a lot of these characters that do have the workaround, they're not cheap. Even Kevin Nash, which we talked about that he's going to have value. Kevin Nash, I got him. His gears, I got him. The moments, I got it. Kevin Nash also needs a yeet plate and a drip plate to be pretty top notch. And that's something that costs money too. And so the idea that this is what's being brought to the game, I don't like that it's essentially telling people they need to either use the 1 or 2 characters that are good enough on their roster to work around it, or they need to spend some crazy money to get a character or 2 on top of their 1 or 2 to work around it. That's where the multi-gem issue comes in for me. But that's my little pedestal there for the reversals on Hall of Fame golds. And again, I do apologize to the YouTube listeners and everyone who's in here listening to me rant away. It is what it is. That's kind of my outlook on it. I don't really think I'm going to have my mindset changed on it. I'm hopeful that there is some type of UI update. That would be a massive change. But that's kind of it for me there. I don't want to harp on it too much because I've already done enough of it. But I do want to go on to the dev letter that we have, which I thought was an interesting little development from Mr. Gerson himself. So I know I talked a lot there, but if anyone else has anything else they want to talk about in regards to the MLC or the reversals or the trainers or the characters or any of that stuff, before we move on to the dev letter, definitely speak now or we will be moving on.
Well, good news to all the listeners out there that with this reversal out there, just know gender still exists and you can work them up now and don't have to worry about it at all.
Gender does still exist, indeed. What's up, B-Rock?
So, I just did a quick poll of people in my faction when I was when we were talking about the numbers of 6-star gold Hall of Fames, and I'm looking here, and the average is like 3. So I know that's not what you all will run into, but if you're looking about 15 floors down, those people are running, having 3, and most of them, when I'm asking which ones they aren't even ones that are getting reversals. So I do understand from a feud, because a lot of feud when you're chasing leaderboards is about speed, and for you have to click here and scroll, that takes time away from you scoring. I get all of that completely. I'm just looking at this where it's like I don't know how impactful it's going to end up being if it stops here. If they keep evolving and adding more to it, then I'm like 1,000% with you, where it's going to be like, all right, so I can't even really use, Jey Uso, or I can't use Jacob Fatu, or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. But
And
now on the other side, they could be turning around and saying, "Hey, buy more plates because plates aren't effective."
Yeah, that's true. The plates don't affect the move.
to your point, though, right? This is not just this month's thing. This is forevermore. So now I can tell you right now, there are 6 or 7 Hall of Fame cards that anyone put in their lineup as Star Gold that will kill. And now that's 9 spots in the lineup. You should have 7 of them, and you can't use any card that you gem boost against them. What do you know? It's going to affect so much more than I think maybe people might realize. I don't know.
So my other thing too to kind of circle on this is I have not chased feuds in I think 8 months now, 7 months now, something like that. It's been over half a year um, since I have attempted a feud leaderboard. I have not felt a single desire to do so. I don't feel like they're rewarding enough. I don't feel like the atmosphere is fair enough. I don't feel like putting in the effort to do that. And so that's not even a bother for me of, well, I want to get my leaderboards and because of this I got to stop and click buttons. That doesn't even impact me directly. I know it will impact the people that do. I know I have plenty of those players in my faction. I know plenty of those players in other factions. I am aware that these changes will impact those people. If I ever decide to go and personally chase again, absolutely it will impact me too. That is not a concern of mine. The concern of mine now is, let's say you get all your CSS done, is great, and let's say you're a normal player out there who doesn't chase leaderboards ever, and who finishes maybe somewhere around 1,000th in war score, or even 5,000th in war score, whatever it may be. If you have a desire to chase to getting all your CSS done, and you have another desire to chase and say, get that 500 million war score milestone, this is one of the biggest obstacles in your way. How much time you're spent researching and investigating your opponent's roster, character by character, how many times are you going to keep doing that, first off? And second off, how does that even constitute as fun? Is it really fun to go through and click every single opponent to read every move that they have and every bonus that they have? And even if it is for you, you most likely have a feud partner that isn't going to do that because that's not fun for them. They're trying to get these points racked up to hit 500 mil and call it an event. So I don't see this being a positive or a net positive for any realm of player. Whether it's the normal guy who's trying to get his CSS done, whether it's the above average guy who wants to get his CSS done and chase the 500 mil, or whether it's the leaderboard guys who are like, you know what, 500 mil is a piece of cake. I'm going for a bill or two. I don't see this being a benefit to any of them at all. It just doesn't feel like that. Reversals are, for offensive purposes, most players do not purposely put a reversal in their lineup to counter someone so that they can win on turn 2. That's just not what a lot of people do. Is it what some do? Sure. Do I know people that bring in Tiffy to female feuds so they can purposely find a multi-gem character to win with? But is this something that you're going to build a whole lineup off of before today? Absolutely not. You might bring in one character, maybe 2. But this is legitimately, to me, one of the biggest changes that they've had, and it is not for the better.
And we're just talking feud here. Forget about talk about Showdown for a minute. You're talking about a tag link that works across gender, gears that give more MP. Typically, you get the MP, and then now you cannot use cards against each card. That's defense doesn't mean anything. I know that, and whatever. But if you could stick one of these tag links into defense, you just harass everyone forever. And I think that's going to be even bigger as you move forward. Showdown more than feud.
Yeah, I think this has some major implications compared to what I think a lot of people are expecting it to be. And I think that health packs are going to be at an all-time premium this week compared to where they have been in probably the past year. So that's my outlook on it. That's my little rant, whatever you want to call it. But we'll leave it there and we'll move on to the dev letter. So the dev letter showed up, and so did one Mr. Gerson's Gaming dev letter for January 2025. We talked about the things that are coming soon, the things that are in development, the things that are in concept. So the things that are coming soon are the Showdown improvements, which it kind of just irks me when I look at this new page of realizing how much effort they can put into UI and not fix the UI that we were just talking about. So again, something that if I am brought onto our call here to talk with some of the devs, something that I can hopefully push home. But Showdown Reworks, apparently it is going to receive a new experience, new matchmaking, new reward systems, and new league progression paths. And it looks like there's going to be some improvements and changes to, I guess, kind of almost, to me, would almost reflect Steel Cage rules, where you get a bonus for this type of gem, or a debuff for that type of gem, or a bonus for this type of superstar, things along those lines. And apparently there's going to be new combat mechanics that are specifically dedicated to Showdown. So that's the first thing. Obviously, the second thing, we have the anniversary month on the horizon in February, so looking forward to that as well. And apparently they are attempting to enhance performance on the portal. So that is what is currently going to be coming soon to the game. In development are things like the new single player experience. They are attempting to find out more about the 1 versus 1 single player experience instead of the faction related stuff. They are trying to make the game more welcoming for players rather, not characters, kind of like what Rusty was talking about earlier in the podcast, of trying to make the game more beneficial for the new player base. And it looks like the Superstar Guide is going to get a little bit of an update with some filters and the concepts. Essentially just a couple of things that they talked about, such as customizing superstars, more game modes, and adding mini games to the portal. So very oddball dev letter this time around. I feel like this is just becoming a thing that they feel like they need to do to try and show everyone what they have on track for us this upcoming quarter of the year. Curious what everyone's thoughts are. It can be real quick, can also be in detail, doesn't bother me either which way, in regards to the dev letter.
Well, the thing that stuck out to me about it was the single player mode. Because although I'm pretty much still playing the game because of the faction and because of the community, and that's what locks you in. Some days I just be around the house bored, nobody's here. I just want to play with myself. And so just playing this game alone, no faction work to do, nothing else going on, and you just play the game for hours and hours doing whatever, anything other than stipulation tours. If you could do something else and actually get rewarded for it, I'd love that.
Some single player experience would definitely be enjoyable for sure.
I don't know, but isn't that just like Showdown? Like all but a couple different modes are solo.
But it says it's gonna be something new. That's what I'm hoping. It's just something completely new.
Fair enough.
Shelly, your thoughts on the dev letter since I got you?
Not like it all sounds pretty interesting, actually. The only thing that I was hung up on was like the solo mode. I'm like, isn't most of the game a solo mode? Like your tours, your showdown, your stip tours, your blitzes. There's only like a handful of things that like require you to work with your team, other than like, contests where you're contributing to a score. Other than that, like all seems pretty reasonable.
I mean, I think the whole solo game mode thing is that they're trying to figure out something, I guess, new. Because Showdown, yeah, there's the solo concept to it, but there's also a faction event. Faction Feud is centered around a faction. Faction Boss is centered around a faction. The Feud doesn't have a faction event anymore, other than the War Score. So I get it where the events are solo based, but the flip side is like there really isn't any solo based stuff outside of the tours, which are one and done. Once you're done with them, they go poof. Stip tours, same thing, solo, and once you're done with it, it goes poof. And Showdown, I mean, Showdown's kind of the only one outside of Feud, which has War Score, and Boss, which has a faction event. Showdown still has a grind component to it where it's like break 40,000 red gems, break 60,000 column breaks. All of that kind of feeds into a faction some way or another, and I think that they're trying to find a way to just get some one-on-one stuff going on. So I mean, I'm looking forward to it personally myself, but
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to see new things and to try new things and to try to give like a fresh feeling to it. I would just say, just the whole like that part just kind of like confused me. Not that I wouldn't like welcome something new.
It looks like we actually lost both Sensei and Rusty for part 2. Looks like they folded up that chair and headed out. B-Rock, talk to me. Thoughts on the dev letter?
So, real busy at work, so I didn't see any of the dev letter, and I'm just kind of going off of what you just shared. Have you ever heard of any like internal faction contest?
What do you mean by
Almost like almost like an internal feud type thing, like who's the best of TNM, that type thing. Almost kind of like that. What was it? The tournament.
the grand tournament?
Yeah, I think that would be something that would be kind of fun. If you had an internal faction competition, if they're looking to improve, like a 1v1, I think that would be great if you're able to do something like internally with your faction. You versus Evo head to head. You know, something along those lines. I think that would be interesting.
Oh, you mean like a faction
But
competing against themselves?
yeah, internal.
I don't think they've ever had that. I mean, there's obviously where people rank on a faction event. There's obviously like
Right.
in Showdown, there's the faction ranking of notoriety, but none of that's
Yeah, but
ever amounted to anything. The only internal thing I think that existed was like a vault,
okay.
and
Vault.
that went over about as well as a fart in church.
Yeah. That is interesting though, because thinking about it, like you don't get to fight or go against or test yourself against any of your faction mates anymore ever since they took it out of Showdown.
Yeah.
Not that I could hold a candle to like you or Evo, you know,
Oh
but
my god.
But I'm just saying that I think that would be something that's interesting, and I think that you know what it brings a little bit of fun, a little bit of uh, competition, as well as some friendly banter, probably. And yeah, is it gonna be life changing? No, but I think if they're trying to improve like the 1v1 type thing, I think doing it internally would be beneficial. Just my opinion on it.
Sure. Anything else on the dev letter that you were thinking of? Like the showdown improvements, anything else on like the web update or any of that jazz? I don't really think there's all that much to talk about, to be fair.
With the game, I think honestly 1v1 or something where they could do, which would be cool, would be a RPG element where I don't know, you start with your wrestler in the indies and work your way up, that kind of thing, career mode type deal. Or you get a 0% strap, and the more you win with it, the more it does, and unlock different things. I mean, there's options to make it more RPG and more stuff outside of live events, to keep more engagement and actually make everyone feel like they're progressing some sense or another. I think that's one of the things that's missing from this game, in a sense where everything revolves around events, and that's at the MLC pretty much. The career mode showdown is kind of a joke, so I think there's avenues that they haven't explored that could increase the overall engagement in this game. The UI update, or the showdown update, nothing really to talk about until it's in game and see what they actually do with it. From my perspective, same thing with the other thing you mentioned. I like B-Rock. I was busy with work, so I only saw parts of it. Nice to see Gerson again. Somehow he hasn't changed, even though he's been gone, and that big old Gerson's gaming logo on the back is still there. So I wonder if he's streaming on the side, cheating. But other than that, that was it.
Yeah, fair enough. I think somebody had mentioned it about how they saw Gerson and the first thing they thought of was, man, he looks a whole lot healthier after not having played the game for this long, huh? And I just couldn't help but laugh. I thought that was great.
I think I said that.
Yeah, there you go. It was funny, and he does look a whole lot better actually, which is crazy to me that he's not playing the game but working on the game now, and all of a sudden things are better. But all right, I think that's pretty straightforward for the dev letter. And last on the hit list for today, we have the Who's Next Weekend Feud. So, gears for Goldberg and Molly Holly, how to get them, which we talked about a couple of those earlier on. I know Eva made a very quick hitter point about Shelton getting a new trainer, but Shelton Benjamin Powerhouse got a new trainer increase for 60% black gem and purple gem damage. Curious what everyone's thinking about the prize wall, the CSS themselves, which for those that are watching on YouTube have been watching me kind of sporadically playtesting all my characters for CSS to make sure that they're going to work against some of the bronze or silver or gold characters out there. And yeah, also want to kind of get everybody's thoughts on this 500 million war score chaser Rooney. Um, Decent chunk to talk about for the weekend, and I promise that will be the end of it. Anybody who wants to kick us off, by all means, feel free to do so. I don't want to keep on hogging the mic. I've done enough of that already.
As always, I'm excited about Feud. Haven't used all these characters in a while and just got one, so DDP's gonna see what he could do. That level 1, that 2-bar special on DDP with 1 move level. Let's see what we could do with DDP. How many matches I can win? Only need to win 2. Kurt Angle, I just took him 6-star just for Feud, and I'm gonna see what that is. Shawn Michaels, I just took him 6-star for Feud. I hear that's a bad idea, but I'm gonna see what that does. And Ray, hopefully that move damage will do enough to get these guys out the way. And let's see what happens.
Yeah, that DDP2 Bob special is gonna work out flawlessly for you. That's for damn sure. Mine's only bronze, but I'm planning on taking out just about everything under the sun with him. So very, very happy for you on the recruit of DDP.
I'm not looking forward to Feud. I just went through. No, I just went through looking while we were chatting, trying to set up a lineup. And, I mean, it's really all going to depend on how many people run Hall of Famers, like was mentioned by Sensei and a few others before. I predict a lot, and it's going to be pain. But besides that, the prize wall is kind of I want that 150 staff for Goldberg, so that's my goal. And then maybe take if I get enough, the rest of it, and take another shot at a rando 150 and see what we land on and what character I take up next. So, I mean, that's it for the prize wall for me. So I didn't even know it was 500K. I'm so out of it with this. And I saw the CSS list, and I think you said it's also era and something for CSS.
Yeah. So there is every single class you need to win 10 with, and then every era that is not promoter, obviously, PG or modern. So Legend, Attitude, New Gen, Reality, Ruthless Aggression, and Hall of Fame, you have to win with 6 times for each of them.
That's actually good news, because there's going to be a lot of poopers out there. And that means I don't have to go against Hall of Famers, so I could use some of the better cards to clear out the poopers and clear out that list.
There's also the solo CSS list.
That's the only thing I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, so that one has a lot of the Hall of Famers. That's Hall of Fame Sean, Hall of Fame Ray, Hall of Fame Kurt, Hall of Fame Macho, Hall of Fame DDP, and Hall of Fame Goldberg. The only non-Hall of Famers there are, of course, Rex Regum, and then Uncle Howdy Bo Dallas.
Oof. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be fun. We'll see.
Yeah, it's a list of who's who, for sure. This go around. Any thoughts on our feud weekend, Miss Shell?
I mean, not really. I have to work. I work tonight. It's rough. I'll do the best I can. I work tonight until like after feud starts. I'll feud for a bit until I pass out, and then get up in the morning and feud some more. I'm sure, like I mentioned earlier, I guarantee at one point at least, I will get frustrated. I will close my phone and probably then go to sleep. And then I'll probably wake up tomorrow with a fresh outlook and try again. But I always aim to do my best, and I almost always max war score, because I usually have a good number of CSS, and this is the same case this time around. Like, I have everybody but Howdy, so I will go through and try to not be frustrated.
My DMs are open.
Oh, I appreciate that. I absolutely do.
All right. And last but not least on this one, Mr. B-Rock Gaming, talk to me about your outlook on our feud weekend.
So, you're probably talking right now to one of the very few people that have, and it's gonna pain me to say it, he's gonna have the gold standard at 6-star gold.
Did you already have him there?
I had him at 6-star silver. and I dumped some stuff into him real quick. Only it was the end of my talent up. That I had to just, I did all the major moves I wanted to, so I was just trickling stuff in here or there. So I did that just for the simple fact that I got a lot of people who use purple gems, so it was one of those things where I said, all right, this will be beneficial in the long run. In regards to the feud, I'm like Shell. You know, start making pizzas at 5. I stopped making pizzas at 1 a.m. So I'll feud from like 2 when I get home to like 3:34 sleep, and then I'll feud in the morning. There's nothing on this prize wall if you really, and again, it's just me stammering there a little bit, but there's nothing really on there that is eye catching for me other than the Willa Cargill plate.
Yeah, and that's a pricey plate on this wall.
Yep. And then it's like, all right, is that so? Then what do? You turn around, and the second thing for me would be the 150% gem strap. But what's my luck? I will pull another Showboat PG 150 plate because I have 2 of them already. So why not a third? I'll have 3 of the same thing, and I'm just like, all right, well, that's that. Outside of that, I mean, I guess Hall of Fame Macho shards because I don't have them. But I could turn around and look at it as that's a possibility, but I don't think the 200 will get them to me. So I'm not. There's nothing on here other. There's nothing that pops for this prize wall for the feud.
I mean, yeah, the only thing I could think of for you is characters that you don't have and picking up shards to recruit those characters.
Yep.
Like,
And that's pretty much where that ends up with this. I am also a hoarder of plates, so I know I'll probably get at least 3 or 4 of those.
oh, the 1 MP plates?
Yeah, I'll get 3 or 4 of those.
Oh, come on, you don't want to spend 17 prize wall on a rosy plate?
Yeah, no.
You don't want to have the mark of a hero?
No, my rosy plate is on Trick Sammy. Come on, baby.
Oh my god.
Who I've used only whenever it's required. So.
Right. So it's been about a year.
No. It wasn't that long ago we had to use them.
Oh man. Well, yeah, I would probably suggest for you that some Hall of Fame Macho shards might not be the worst decision. Some Seth freaking Rollins shards maybe not the worst decision. Just getting some characters, or at least closer to, probably going to be your best bang for your buck there, if I had to guess.
And the fun thing is, for me, when I look at the prize wall, like those are the only 2 that I think I don't have that are on there.
Yeah.
I'm just double checking. Yeah, they're the only 2 that I really don't have, so I have everybody else. And some of them I don't even use.
Oh, I'm sure plenty of them you don't even use. I mean, the mellow shards are nice for anyone that needs him still as a trainer, and that doesn't have them already. Showboat Solo, also pretty decent amount of shards that you can get for a 5K character for the amount of prize wall that it's going to cost. But yeah, I mean, look, so this feud and this weekend for me personally, I think this was one of the easiest pass weekends that I could have had ever. The one thing that I did do, which you'll see on my screen if you're watching on the playback, is I did get the gold gear from Molly Holly. I will definitely be getting the silver gear out of the 300 million milestone in the Feud War Score event. That's not going to be a problem to me. I don't think that CSS should be a problem for most people out there. It's literally just use a class and use an era. That's about as open of a CSS as you can get. That's literally any. So that should be doable. The 500 mil milestone doesn't really seem like it's worth it. I said this last time. I'll say it again this time. I'll probably say it again the next time. The feud domination chests are okay, but they're not great. It's a bunch of characters that you're never going to use again, other than maybe for trainer or coach abilities, and some of them have like 10 shards, like 10 shards of Io Sky, 20 shards of Showboat Molly Holly, 10 shards of Rosie. Who needs 10 shards of Rosie when we just got them for free? Like, it's a joke. These moments, there's maybe 2 or 3 of them that have any value, and none of them are not available on the month-long midweek prize wall, so it's just weak. The skill plates are also not great at all. I think the best skill plate here, you can have an argument for the Titan Crest, you can have an argument for the Seal of the Acolytes, maybe an argument for the Hulkamaniac and the Nightmare Insignia. You probably already have a good chunk of these skill plates as is, just because you've played Feud or done Talent Up in the past. So none of this is really significantly great. And the straps are not good either. I mean, they go up to 100%. You literally get a chance at the 150s right now. So the only thing that is worth it to me are the chances at the 150s if you hit a 150. If you don't and you hit a 40 or a 60, it's effectively a waste. 100 is pretty much break even with the month-long midweek wall at this point. And the shard bags, they made worse than what they had before. So I'm still very vocal about the fact that these shard bags have been made worse, not better, which is crazy to me because they needed to be made better, and they weren't. So it's not really worth it to even go for it if you're having second thoughts or doubting yourself or wondering if maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. It's really not worth it. It's if you got nothing else going on and you want to just get it, by all means go and get it, which is probably what I'll be doing this weekend because I like hanging out with the faction and the voice chat and the engagement with the friends, and that's kind of where the fun is in the game for me. But the 500 mil is not really going to... It's not going to make or break anybody in this game at all. Also, and yeah, I think Bunders just pointed this out, something else to keep in mind, it's going to be a little bit more difficult this time around. They decided to change the first time win from 300k down to 250k. So they've actually lessened the amount of points that you're going to get with using different characters. So, and don't don't shoot the messenger here or anything. It might pay to just find one person or two people character-wise that you like running with and running with them. Something else too that changed is, and I just noticed this too, every 3,000 points of damage is now worth 1 point, which is really bad because you essentially need to put up 30 million points of damage for 10,000 war score, and that's a nothing burger. That's the same exact amount of points that you get for defeating a 4-star gold opponent. If you average 60 million health, you get 2 4-star gold opponents worth of points. You don't even get a 5-star silver worth of points for dealing that much damage. So the health is non-existent. When I hear people that are talking about, oh, you got to drain health to make sure that you get all the damage possible, no, you don't. You really don't. The amount of time that you're going to waste trying to drain everybody's health here for 20k points compared to even though it's been lowered, a new character win for 250,000 points, it's over 10x, 12x what you're getting for just fully draining somebody. So it's just not worth it to me. But again, I mean, this feud was an easy skip for me. I'm already confidently going to tell you that I have zero desire to spend. I did my little Molly gear. That's it. I have no desire to try and spend to pull Goldberg's gold gear. The likelihood of that happening? Not likely. So, if it's not likely, I'm not going to spend and waste on it. The likelihood of me getting Goldberg just by playing the rest of the month? Pretty likely. That's why I spent $20 on his silver gear. And his silver gear will be good enough for me to use him if I decide to use him moving forward as a nuisance for the whole gem damage thing, reversal, whatever you want to call that nonsense. This is a chill weekend for me. The prize wall itself, as everyone else has alluded to numerous times, this doesn't have much for me. Yeah, cool. There's a Goldberg 150. There's a Molly 150. There's a Modern Showboat affiliation, which I know a lot of people complained about for a long time. So if you don't have one of those, definitely worth looking into one of those. There's one chance at a 150 random here, which go for it, I guess. Good luck. But that's kind of where the buck stops on the prize wall. Everything else is just pack it up, move on to the next week. I don't know. Like I said, I know a lot of people are typically down on Hall of Fame month. I'm not so down on it as much as I am just I'm kind of already in week 5 mode. Kind of what we were talking about, kind of what Evo was alluding to earlier when we talked about how he kind of just felt like he was getting hit in the corner over and over and over again. I kind of already feel like that. I'm just over it. I'm not going to get emotionally attached to this month at this point, especially with all the stuff that happened with the Hall of Fame reversal. I'm already checked out on this. I'm not huge on it. I hate to end on like a negative note type of thing, but that's just the facts. I am looking forward to Anniversary Month. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be engaging. I think it'll be different. I think the fact that they made a point of talking about it in the dev letter, that hopefully there is going to be something big to look forward to in that month. But yeah, man, when it comes to this Ring of Immortality, I mean, yeah, I don't really have much to say. Those reversals are definitely going to feel like they're immortal. But I can't wait for this to just be already over and done with. Who knows? Maybe my tone changes by the time that we return for the podcast on February 1st, which will be the next podcast date. That will be the end of week 3 of our 3-week MLC. And we'll talk more about the Hall of Fame MLC then and how everything kind of wrapped up and shaped out. But that's going to be it for this one. So huge shout out to everyone who showed up. Thank you, B-Rock, Evo, Shell, Envy, all for sticking through for the entire podcast. Appreciate it. Had 2 very, very solid parts this time around. Like I said, I thought there was going to be a lot to talk about. And lo and behold, there sure was. Huge shout out. I know Sensei and Rusty are no longer here, but massive shout out to them for pulling up a chair for the time that they did. Once again, if you would like to be a part of the podcast, do me a favor. Send me a DM on Discord. 2Bob29 is obviously the name. Message me on the lounge server and let me know that you'd want to be a part of it. And then actually show up at 10 in the morning Eastern a little bit beforehand so we could do a sound check. And then we can get you onto the podcast. But that is going to be it for this one. So hopefully you all enjoyed the content. Hopefully you enjoyed my little bit of background nonsense that I had going on, prepping and getting ready for Feud, the CSS builds, and a little bit of gameplay here and there, all that good stuff. But until next time, everybody, until 2 weeks from now, when we have Roundtable Volume 10 on the Rebirth, that's going to be a fun one. Until then, have a good one.